Hello, and welcome to the October prompt for Stitch With Me in 2023. The prompt for this month is the word hidden, and that has so many possibilities. Hidden means to obscure or to make something less apparent. It can mean to hide something or bury something. You have so many options to what you can do with this prompt. I know what I'm going to do with this one, and this is how the prompt came to me. We were sitting outside eating. We are in Florida, so we eat outside year-round. My husband had an upside-down surfboard near the table, and I noticed something just out of the corner of my eye that I thought I saw something move on the surfboard. Well, that was kind of a little odd because the board wasn't in the water, so the board wasn't moving. On the fin of the board, which was very dark and black, I suddenly saw something drop off the fin, land on the ground, and scurry away. And when it landed on the ground, it seemed to change color before my eyes. When it was on the board, it was barely noticeable and it was black. And when it scurried away, it became the sand color of the ground, the tile that it landed on. It turned out to be a little anole. It's these little lizard-like creatures that we have around here. They camouflage themselves somewhat. Not seriously, like they don't turn stripes or different colors like that, but they tend to turn the shade of the color that they're in. So if they're in a really dark color, they become darker, and light, they become a little lighter. It is a very interesting camouflage and a different way to become hidden. So I knew instantly hidden was going to be the word for this month, and I wanted to make something with the anole in it to really mark that occasion. So let me show you how I do my project.
So this prompt is the easiest one for me to decide what to do, but I'm really hoping that I can execute it. I have my little piece of muslin as my backing here. It probably won't show through. And then I have this beautiful fabric that I'm going to use to make my little anole. And I want to just choose a spot of fabric where I can get the different colors of these beautiful foliage and camouflage it with that anole, or to make it the camouflage for the anole. So I need to really make sure that I have the colors that I'm looking for. So this is kind of a good piece. So I'll just cut it down. Let's see where that leaves me here. I kind of like up here. So it brings me to about here. Yeah, I like that piece. I like those colors. And I found different colors that will match that accordingly for the different leaves. And then this brown. So really this is a lot of creating it in my head and hoping it works. But that's the beauty of this project. So that's how it's going to look when it's on the card. So that works. I'll set my card aside for now. Now I have the harder part, which is creating that anole. I want it to have a little dimension. I still want it to look hidden, but I want it to have a little dimension. So I'm going to trace it, or at least sketch it, on this little felt. And then I can put it on my piece, and then using those threads, create the couching stitch in the identical colors of the background to make it match. It's a little bit of a happening in my mind. I hope I can execute it here with fabric. So I'll start by creating this shape of the body here. Now anoles have this long body and then a long tail. I don't need to do the tail out of the felt. So I really only need to do the body out of the felt. I also want to make sure it fits on my little piece here. And I think I'm going to have it come across the leaves, maybe make a curve. So I'll be imagining it the opposite way here. So this is the curve that I want. And now I'll just kind of trace it here to get the shape of that body. And it just tapers down, has a little bit of a behind, and then it kind of tapers down. So it's kind of a worm shape to start with. I'll cut that out. And then I can fine tune it as I go. even make a little bit of the tail, keeping that attached. And so that's a very good start. And now I'll kind of have my anole just like this. Maybe even pull it up a little further so I can do something interesting with that tail. Now I also want to move it around because I don't want half the body off. It'll be just harder to stitch. So that's pretty good. I'm going to start with this color leaf here. It's that deep tan. And I'll start right at the edge where I know the leaf is, where I can visually see it before I have to extrapolate. And I'll come up and just stitch over it with a couching stitch. So now the leaf comes around here, but I think it's kind of weird to have it striped, the anole. So I'm going to have this color continue over the anole until it gets to this leaf here. So I'll continue with that couching stitch all the way down. So I finished stitching all the couching stitch, kind of a satin stitch, around the upper half of the body. And now the last third, I'm going to go in with the color that matches this leaf. And I'll do the same thing. And then from here, when I have the main part of the body, I'll start adding the legs and the arms. So I have the upper body and the lower body. I have a little bit of thread left on my needle, so I want to stitch that tail. And the tails are all various lengths. They're kind of interesting because they get bitten off quite a bit. So I'll just make it about that length. And I'll just come in here and gradually add stitches, going the length of that little tail, tapering off till it gets the most narrow at the end. And I may even take some green thread and finish off that tail. I think that'll be a cute little touch. So I'll continue the tail, and I can start on the arms and the legs. So I finished stitching the green, but I ran into a small glitch with this dark brown, is that I ran out of thread. I thought I had additional in my stash, but I couldn't find anything that matched it. It was just whatever was left over on this little bobbin. So I found this color, slightly darker, but it'll work. I think I can weave it in. So I'm going to start right here at the tail and just stitch through that, and then add a few couching stitches as I go. And I'm hoping that'll make the color somewhat mottled, and it'll just kind of blend. It won't really look like two different color legs or anything. I think the alternative was worse. So I'll just work a few stitches in here and then work my way up with a few couching stitches. I think the end result will be almost like variegated thread as opposed to a solid color. So sometimes you have to figure out creative ways to take a not so ideal situation and make it work for you. So this kind of will just be maybe a little bit of a striped anole here when I'm done. So there, it looks good enough. Now I want to sketch out my little legs and arms. On my little sketch here that I made, I can see that the legs and arms give it a lot of character. I just need to make sure that the placement is right. So I'll start on the right hand side here. The arm forms like a little bit of a V, and then it has 4 fingers. And so the same thing over here. I have a little V over here and 4 fingers. So that I'll use the lighter color. And now for the darker color, the legs are a little bit longer than the arms. So I'll come out here, come back, and make feet. They seem to have 1 long toe. I'll give them 2 other toes. I'm not really sure if that's anatomically correct, but that will work for today. So now I'll get to work stitching those, and I'll start with my darker color here. I want the legs to be a little thicker, the first part between the knee and the body. So I'll start with that. I'll just make some straight stitches from the knee to the body. And then I'll just go over that with a couching stitch. And I can just make straight stitches for the little lower leg. So I finished stitching the anole. I have the little arms and hands and the legs. Oh, I love how this came out. This came out the way I wanted it to, and that's a really great feeling. So all I have left to do is attach it to my card. And then my October prompt of Hidden is complete.
So that's the October prompt for Stitch With Me in 2023. I hope you find this prompt exciting and you can't wait to create it. I know I can't wait to see what you create. Now feel free to post in our Facebook group. We have lots of people that post and then share with us the actual reasoning behind their post or how they came to that decision of what to make. And I find that charming. I love to hear about the process people have and why they chose those particular prompts. Our last month's prompt was personal artifact, and many of you shared with me why those artifacts were so near and dear to you. And it was lovely, really lovely to see and read all about that. So I want to thank you for your participation, and we only have 2 more months left to this year. Can't wait to see you next month. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. And please consider becoming a paid member of my channel. Thanks for joining me today.